Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the intro. I'm not going to bore you too much with a lot of intros about myself, but Kanchana Wickremasinghe, based out of Melbourne, part of WSO2 team. You need the mic or you can hear me?
So the recording doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's the problem.
Part of WSO2 team, and I'm based out of the WSO2's Melbourne office. I came to WSO2 about 4 and a bit years ago when they ended up acquiring my company called Platform Cloud. Platform Cloud had a DevOps platform on top of Google Cloud. It was cloud agnostic. Control plane was on Google Cloud, but it caters for the clouds as well. WSO2 saw the opportunity to merge with what they're doing in software engineering aspects. So the two companies came together, and that's how I came to WSO2. Later in the networking, I can talk a little bit about WSO2 and what are the kind of products they do, etc. But today it's not about WSO2. Actually, one passion and I guess one goal that WSO2 has is every product that they build as open source first. However, when they build Choreo, which is the SaaS version, it wasn't available as open source. Last year, internally we met up with all the architects, etc., and we decided that we should make the SaaS version open source as well, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. So all of the products, including now Choreo, is open. For Choreo, obviously, we kept it as OpenChoreo. I am going to do some demos as well, so feel free to ask any questions and interrupt. We're happy to answer them as well. Is that
I can help you. It's
yeah.
It's AI. AI.
You had the thing, right?
I think you need a Wi-Fi.
Okay. Don't worry. Don't worry.
You don't have the USB.
Yeah, actually,
It works.
So how many of you know about internal developer platform? Quite a few. Okay. Oh, Nilesh, this might be boring. I'm just doing it again, right? So I have some new stuff. So anyway, so Nilesh heard this at the platform engineering session there about 2 months.
Yes.
2 months ago. Yeah. So IDP can get confused as well. I was talking to someone earlier, and the IDP traditionally known as the identity access product rather than the internal developer platform. It was coined by a company called Humanitech, a German company. They actually started Humanitech to kind of like put a framework together to create the build your own platform. We looked at them, and obviously there was quite a lot of gaps as well in the products, especially in terms of the software engineering aspects. Hence why WSO2 went on the path to build Choreo, and now obviously contributing that back to the OpenChoreo as well. OpenChoreo is the V3 of the Choreo. So OpenChoreo current version V2, the SaaS, is Choreo, and Choreo will in the future also will be built on top of OpenChoreo. How it's all started, I think I briefly mentioned about how it all started. When I think WSO2 kind of going in their journey, building the platforms for their customers, they realize that a lot of the time what happens is you do a project, you build it, and then it's kind of get a bit stale because there is no one to kind of really manage, etc. However, we actually take the responsibility, like how we have taken the responsibility of other products. Why don't we build and actually offer it as a service, which is what we did with Choreo. But then talking to some of the customers, very, very large customers, they said, we also want to have some autonomy. That means we want to try it ourselves. We probably want to run it for a while before we actually get into a commercial discussion. Hence why it kind of led me to create OpenChoreo. So like I said, V3, so completely Kubernetes native. You can OpenChoreo, obviously, given it's completely open source, you can run it, operate it yourself. You don't have to buy a single license from WSO2 or anyone else. However, if you do want to have that like similar to other open source like Red Hat, etc. Subscription to get support when you needed to, you can do that as well. So the V3 is completely re-architecting the way we do things. So there's no any proprietary stuff in it. You take it, you run, and even if you decide you want to depart from OpenChoreo, your workloads, etc., will still run on Kubernetes. So yeah, what is OpenChoreo? I think I will go into a little bit in details when I go to the next few slides. And then I will also go through how OpenChoreo works. Seeing is believing, so I got a demo. I will run through the demo as well. I did some pretty things like installation, etc. I'm running on a Windows laptop, so I had to put WSL. Yeah. You guys know about WSL, which is the subsystem for Linux in Windows, which actually, by the way, Microsoft has done a good job. One thing that they have done a good job. It actually works really well now. Which I really like, so because you can actually do your tests, etc., spinning up a VM in there and then throw it away when you're done. Right. So I'll show you that. So from an architecture perspective, so OpenChoreo is an internal developer platform that you can ready to use. What we meant by ready to use is a lot of the tooling that you need to run what you need to run an internal developer platform is available through OpenChoreo. So we installed, when we go through, I'll show you the installation guide as well. When we go through it, there are some optional things like your CI plane, data plane is obviously mandatory, observability plane, things like that. You don't have to install, they can be optional. If you already have like Jenkins or Argo CD running elsewhere, or Circle CI or any of those kind of CI, you can still use that. But if you totally want to rely on CNCF projects, you can create the CI plane, the other workflows get installed and get nicely integrated as well. So that's one of the things that what we're advocating is like, you can go build all these and do all the hard wiring underneath, or you can start with OpenChoreo and get your internal developer platform going really, really quickly. Right. So from a concept perspective, so there are two major personas in an internal developer platform. Platform engineers are kind of like the first-class citizens. Not saying that developers aren't, but platform engineers pretty much have to do a lot of the work to set it up so that the developers can self-service and actually go within the guardrails, right? So from a platform concept, what we have kind of taken like abstracted is an organization, which is can be your company, right? Now this organization can also kind of like divide into your sub-orgs, etc. as well. In my demo, I won't be able to show you the sub-organization, but in the next release, I'm using the 0.3 release, 0.4 release, so you have that as well. Then you have the project concept, and then obviously you are dividing things into like data planes where you run your workloads and your development, production, staging the kind of environments, and your deployment pipelines and the other optional planes as well. Now, if you look at it, so that's kind of like the platform concepts for the platform engineers. And all this is controlled by a control plane. Now, from a lot of people here, I assume that you know about Kubernetes a lot. So this can be a control plane itself can run on a Kubernetes as a cluster, or you can run both together if you do want to. Some people do that for lower environments, but as you grow high environments, I highly recommended that you have control planes separately from the other planes, because then it gives you the opportunity. You don't have to, every time you scale, you don't have to scale the control plane unnecessarily. So you can like scale your data plane where your workloads are on, right? So like I said, the next mandatory part is the data plane. Underneath in the data plane is Kubernetes Cluster, of course. I'm assuming a lot of people know CDM as well, which has been a very, very popular CNI. I mean, Calico and the others are catching up as well. So CDM has done a really great job in terms of introducing things that you would have had to take otherwise, like service mesh capabilities, MTLS and eBPF level networking, load balancing, removing the complexity of the service mesh to have sidecars and just have a car, just a single car in a node rather than having every single microservice having a sidecar. So we've taken Cilium network, so Cilium agents will run on it. From an API gateway to secure your microservice, whether it is going internal, east-west, or external, south and north, using Envoy. On top of Envoy, WSO2 also has written things like policy enforcer, rate limiters, things like that as well in addition to it. HashiCorp Vault is something that we would recommend if you're running on your own cluster. Obviously, there are other choices as well. That's one choice. And from a fluent bit, from a local collections perspective, and Harbor for image registry. These are components that comes when you install it. But if you want to replace Harbor with, let's say you have ACR or ECR or GCR, you can do that as well. And then come to the two optional planes. CI plane is important. I would highly recommend actually if you're actually trying it, better to have all the planes. It doesn't actually, you can practically run this whole thing on a laptop, right? These days laptops are powerful. The reason the CI plane is because it's kind of very coupled and integrated in a way when the developers come to self-service, it's much easier for the developers to then actually define their pipelines, etc., rather than going to one. But that said, a lot of the companies have some sort of CI/CD these days, right? So it could be Jenkins, it could be Circle CI or Octopus Deploy or something like that, right? So you don't have to throw it away. But buildback is a really good concept as well if you're building golden path for the languages you're using. So that's built in. And the observability plane. So a lot of our customers are saving a lot of money in terms of running observability plane on the open source product. So a lot of this is based out of OpenSearch from a metrics, etc. collection perspective, use Prometheus and Panos. The reason I'm saying is like all the cloud, there's nothing wrong with the cloud log analytics products, but they can get very expensive when you're actually shipping loads and lots of logs, and especially when it comes to query, right? So that's something to know. Yeah, so drilling, any questions so far on the products or anything like that? Yeah. Yeah. When you play like this, you want to take my phone out. So when you say this product that you release has 3 tools, okay, so observability, the back. Which way? There's no back. Or go back. Middle. Go the bottom. Go back. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. The CI plane, data plane, and observability. Yes. So who really install all these things and configure all these things? Like will come out of the box? Engineers, right? Okay. Yeah. But what we have done is part of the open source, so OpenChoreo project is you have all the instructions, installation script to do that. Okay. That's what I'm going to show you in the demo. Okay. Right. Makes sense. Yeah. So you can do it manually, or you can use so the reason, like if you look at Backstage or Kubernetes, right? A lot of that scripting, etc., you have to do it, right? If you take OpenChoreo, the difference is these are optional, but the scripts are available for you to run, right? So you can run it. You still have to create the Kubernetes cluster creation part is outside of OpenChoreo, but you have to create the basic Kubernetes cluster from there onwards. Yeah, okay. The demo show you Hive-based cluster that you can run, yeah. Right? So script is available for that, so you don't have to kind of like go find the script, etc. That answer your question? Yes. Yeah, so from a platform concept, like I said, you have the org level, and in I think with .4 release, we're introducing some large organizations where they have multiple business units, so multiple different kind of like areas, they want to kind of separate it out, mostly from a billing perspective, right? Because not a lot of the people are going to run all these things on-prem. They will still use some sort of a cloud. When they use the cloud, they want to have like, okay, let's say the finance department is running their own data plane, you know, how do you attach the cost to them? So that because of that, you need like the sub-org level, right? And then project concept is very, very familiar in like Google call it projects, I think Microsoft call it resource group, and I think accounts or something like that, AWS code. So, but hierarchical perspective, it's kind of equivalent to grouping, you know, your workloads from HR to finance to marketing, right? So that's kind of become a project. Within that also, you can obviously break it down into further if you need to. And then you have what's called the environment. So you can have multiple different environments. Some people prefer to have lower environments in a single cluster, while others prefer individual clusters, depending on your requirement and your budget, etc. Right. And then inside the okay. Inside the project, what we call the workload from an OpenChoreo concept is a component, right? It's no different to a workload basically, right? And as I said, these are all Kubernetes native declarative. So the next slide kind of showing you how that is. So as you can see, the organization is kind organization. When it comes to like deployment pipeline is another kind, and then you kind of define all these, right? So these can be hand coded, handwritten, or you can use your OpenChoreo tooling to do that as well, right? Now, if you're in, for example, in the Choreo SaaS version, you don't even have to think about writing these. You just plug in your Git repo with your source code and say, I'm using buildpack.net or Java or Python or whatever, and Choreo goes and figure it out what kind of a component that is and create all the YAMLs that is needed, right? I think that is one of the challenges for a lot of the developers as well, right? So that's why we're trying to make all that simpler so platform engineers can come and set everything up for the developers and say, okay, you have access to development environment and maybe staging environment, depending on the, you know, the organization rules, and they don't have to think about writing all this stuff. But because of this, we can say, even if you completely take away the OpenChoreo, you can still run your workflows without use. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so the components you can define in different types. These are some of the types that we have defined, but given it's an open source project, it doesn't really do. But if you take a look at it, like web app is a web app, right? So you can call something else if you want to. Service is a typical microservice. Manual tasks and scheduled tasks are very similar to cron jobs in Kubernetes. Again, the YAML on that, you know, you can go hand code it, or you can use your OpenChoreo to generate the YAMLs. Yeah, control plane. So control plane is like your orchestrator. Do I need to explain control plane, data plane? No. Or you guys know what control plane and data plane is? Right. Yeah, think of most of you have used cloud, right? So if you're using a cloud, for example, the cloud UI, whether it is Google or Amazon or Azure, that is your control plane or your orchestrator, where no workloads run, but allows you to go and configure resources, define resources, and provision them. And when you actually run your workload, your microservices, your integrations, your APIs, etc., that is where that's what's called the data plane. And typically, if I'm referring to a cloud example in let's say we are in AWS, so let's say EKS, right? EKS will be in a virtual private network, And within the case, you will have obviously the Kubernetes control plane, right? Which OpenChoreo will talk to. And data plane is where the actual cluster worker nodes, right? Workload node. That's where you deploy your microservices, etc. And that's what's called the data plane. Sometimes also some cloud vendors and some architects also refer to it as the runtime plane, right? This terminology has come from airline industry as well as network industry, where you have the actual network device, your data plane, and the web UI or the command line is your control plane. Yeah, so we briefly touch on, yeah. So some of the key components that run on the data plane, we talk a bit about the CDM agents, the gateway, log collector, image registry, etc. So in doing so, what we have also done, something that's is not that easy to implement, is the cluster is zero trust ready on day one, right? Imagine that you have to go and do all that yourself, right? There will be a lot of work, a lot of tooling that you need to put together. The good news is this is 100% available open source that you can use from day one. And built-in observability as well. You know, obviously you don't want to deploy anything without having no observability, right? If you have Splunk, Coney, Relay, others, you can plug in as well. You can use the forward bit to forward the data to them. And also have the built-in API management as well. So if you're actually doing APIs, you do need to have an API management within it, right? A lot of the data leaks that has happened from Medibank to Optus to others left the API just practically open, right? No API gateways, nothing. So what happens is what happened, right? Really high level concept as to how things looks like in when you do this. This diagram actually gets drawn as well as and when you actually deploy services, right? So that's one thing that a lot of the architects love, because they can visualize it, what's happening within the organization, within the project, etc. So this is what I talked about. If you are putting stuff within the organization, which is called east-west traffic, that is also controlled by an API gateway. And the good thing is the developer doesn't even have to think about it. They have to say, my microservice C2, for example, is only going east-west, and OpenChoreo will go do all the YAMLs that is needed, right? Obviously, you can go take a look at it, but you don't need to go hand coding. And then obviously, you have to expose the APIs to the internet, if you have mobile apps, etc., or you have partners, you're going to use the APIs, right? That you're going to be using. And then southbound, you obviously need to integrate to things like Stripe, the Workday, Salesforce, or any of other SaaS tools or AI tools that you will be using. Then you can use that as well. One of the things that WSO2 doing is enhancing the API gateway, so you actually put guardrails around it, how you access LLMs. So things like you know, how many tokens can you access? You know, can I send PII data to the LLM model and things like that. Now I can't show you in this demo. I don't have that version. But if anyone of you guys are interested, I can send the details. Yeah, so this is one of the demos that I'm going to be running. So I will leave that slide there, and let me go to any questions so far before I start the demo. Couple of things I have done is I have created the virtual machine running on my laptop. I can tell you how to do that very easy. I'm not going to do that because we have limited time. And I have run the script to get everything up and running, right? But I can show you. We can do step by step as well. Yesterday, just before the meeting, I got an email from Yang saying, I need some questions. And also, I thought people might ask, rather than doing this step by step, can I actually get an entire script that I can run? So I didn't want to handcraft. I use this AI tool called Manus. Pretty good. If you haven't used it, have a go. I gave Manas our documentation site, and I said, go create a script, follow through all the instructions in there, and at the end I wanted to have this script built, and it did really well. Not only that, it actually, when it was installed in Docker, because it's adding the Docker to your user, not running as a root, you have to log out and log back in, right? In the first round, it actually gave me the instructions to say, I'm going to show you to do that, but it didn't stop there. So I tried to continue, it failed. And I said, go fix it. Second time, it said, I have done up to here. I'm going to exit now, go log out and come back in, and then it started from there. So AI can put to some good use. And I'm pretty sure Nilesh and them, will also be showing some of those capabilities. And the second thing I did was, this guy asked me questions like, I don't know, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. So I took the slides and gave it to Gemini and said, come up with 4 questions. I did validate the questions though. I did validate the question.
The quiz time, no Gemini, okay?
No, this is not Gemini. Okay. Right. So this is the website, OpenChoreo. Obviously, I can share the slide set with you all as well. I'm going to go into the documentation and quickly show you the installation. And I'm here in the demo, I'm using the single cluster. You can use multi-clusters as well. So as you can see for the single cluster, you will need the Docker engine, you will need Kind, and you will need kubectl install and helm install. And because I'm running on Mac, if you're doing it on Mac, you have to provide that special command. On Windows, like I said, I run the Windows subsystem, and on the Windows subsystem, I create an Ubuntu instance. Right. And it's pretty easy. I don't have the instruction for that, but I'm happy to provide. It's very, very easy to do that. And then scrolling down, so these are the commands I had to run, right? And all of these. So let me just, so as you can see, it's first, obviously, once you have these running, all the prerequisites done, you start creating the kind cluster, right? So yes, it's a little bit painful, right? You have to, this is why I didn't want it to run single command at a time. That's why I created the script, right? And which we will make it available as well. And then you install the Cilium CNI and you wait for it to be ready. And then you install the control plane. Once you install the control plane, again, wait for it to get up and going. You should see the controller manager, API server, and the cert managers are running. And then you install the data plane, if you remember the data plane diagram. So that's pretty much what you actually need. Rest is optional. But I have installed everything as well. So hopefully, if the demo works, I should be able to show you some of that too. Right? So I did all these. I installed everything. So what I'm going to do now, because I have installed everything, I should be able to. So we are using Backstage at the moment. We are using Backstage at the moment as a portal. The reasoning is that I think someone else asked me earlier as well why Backstage. Because the UI for the open source version isn't ready yet. Until it is ready, we'll be using Backstage. And the other reason to use Backstage is also very popular among the open source community. So we'll keep on supporting the Backstage plugin as well. So it's not like we're going to throw it away. So I'm going to be doing the port forwarding and with a command. So I killed it earlier. So that means if I go into the
backstage, should say, shouldn't be able to connect anything. Yeah, that's good. So this is the WSL window. You guys can. Is that big enough for?
I'm all right. I'm in the front,
Okay.
maybe the back.
Okay.
Can you guys see it?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to So what this command does is, because I can't access the backstage that is running as a service, I haven't exposed it. So what I'm going to do is port forward from the Kubernetes cluster into my local laptop, so I can actually use the local host to show you that. This is one way of doing it. If you want to do the hard way, you can put like a metal LB load balance and actually do a proper IP, etc. Right? But this is kind of like the simplest way to do it. Now, if I restart this, it might take a little bit. Oh, actually, I need to check whether all the yeah, everything is running. Oh, there you go. Okay, so domain in backstage. So these are backstage. These concepts are backstage concepts. The domain is equivalent to OpenChoreo's the organization. Group is a project, and then obviously where your services that are running. And oh, sorry, my bad. System is the project. I think group is the security group that they belongs to. And then obviously the user is the user, right? So if I go, if I click on the backstage, you will see there is kind of nothing. Let me see if I can make it bigger. As you can see that there is really nothing installed here at the moment. I see. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to use one of the examples in here and first deploy that example, and then I'll deploy the oh, by the way, I just also want to quickly show you all that, as you can see that I have used namespaces instead of actual clusters. So for example, the build plane is in a namespace, right? Now this can be another Kubernetes cluster. Control plane is also in the same cluster, and the data plane is also on the same cluster, and the same as the observability plane as well, right? But as you can also see that in the build plane, the Argo workspace is running. Control plane, the API server, backstage demo, the one that we are showing, cert manager, control manager, and in the data plane you run the gateway, rate limiter, gateway internal, external as well, and the HashiCorp Vault, and the registry, secret store, etc. So let me go and deploy the first app. So now if I go back to takes a little bit to refresh. Yeah, so the greeter service is now deployed. And if I go take a look at it, it will actually show you that. So this is owned by the guest group. It's part of the default project, and it is an API service, and that is the service, right? So you can, if there are any dependencies, this one doesn't have any dependencies, that will show up as well. This is not a fantastic one to really show you the architecture diagram because it's just one component. So let me go and deploy the Google service. Right. Can I get rid of this floating thing? Oh yeah, we click now. Is the Google demo. Ah. Do that. Didn't. Sorry, guys, I had to refresh my thing yesterday. I think it has gotten rid of all the files. Let's see if I can copy it from the internet.
Any questions? We only have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just. Yeah, no, I might not have the time to, if it's 5 minutes, because I have to clone the entire thing into my local. Yeah, so
How can I configure whether the data planes will run in a namespace or in a different cluster? How the configuration works?
okay, so if you're doing it, then follow the multi-cluster approach. So if you go to multi-cluster, that's where you can define where you set it up, your data plane, right? So when you're installing your data plane, right? So basically the command is the same. You go create a new cluster first, right? And then run this command on that cluster, right? And once you run the cluster, then you can go and connect it to the data plane. Sorry, control plane. You have to do a few steps, right? And that will install the entire cluster, and you will wait it to be ready, and then you configure the cluster, right? And then it will be available on your control plane, right? Yeah. So basically, multiple clusters, you have to go create it first. It's like how we did it. You can use the kind also,
right? High multiple clusters, but you need to run the data plane command on that specific cluster. Yeah. In the SaaS version is a little bit easier. The reason why I'm saying that because it has a UI. So you can go create the cluster and say, this is my data plane, this is my control plane, etc. Sorry, guys, I haven't cloned the repo, so I can't run it because there's a lot of files to be downloaded.
Oh, it's live then.
Anyone else has any question? No? If no other question, let's thanks to Kanchana.
No problem.
And thank you so much. Our next person to speak, we actually got very handsome, nice man, Nilesh and Thiago. Welcome.
Okay, that's the only slide I have for the day. So my name is Nilesh. For those of you who have not seen me or heard me, I work as a senior cloud solutions architect at Avanade, which is specializing in Microsoft products and services. And apart from that, I was an ex-Microsoft MVP for 7 years from 2018 until this year. And currently I'm a Docker captain. I also like the game of cricket, so I might be able to show you something if everything works as expected related to cricket. Ashes is coming. Anyone here cricket fan? Okay, yeah, we have a few. So you might be able to relate to some of the things that I'm going to talk. So today we're going to talk about something interesting in the Docker world, which is called as the C agent. How many of you have used Docker or are using Docker? Okay. Have you heard of C agent? No, first time. Yes. Okay, that's nice. That's good. Even I didn't know much about it until Thiago said we should do a workshop about it, and we started talking about and thinking about it. So C agent is like agent orchestration framework by Docker. It allows us to create agents, multi-agents, not just single agents, and orchestrate them by providing them tools, memory, and things like that with very little coding. So with very little experience, we can start building agents and we can start to experiment with agents. So how many of you have tried building agent or tried playing around with large language models or small language models? What's the first thing you do? How do you get started?
I start Olama, download the model.
Okay.
Then using some agentic framework, try to give the address.
Yeah, that's a very good way of starting. The other way is you usually subscribe to some online hosted model, right? Like if you are willing to pay some money or until you run out of the free tokens, you will create an account and you will start using that. How many of you know that Docker allows you to run some of these models locally? There's a feature called as Docker Model Runner. So if you are interested and you don't want to spend money on cloud hosted models, there are some models which are available as part of the Docker itself. So if you have Docker installed, you can go into the settings and under the AI option here, you will see that enable Docker model runner. And you can also enable the host side TCP support, which will give inferencing engine. It will allow you to interact with that model using this 12434 default port. You can override that and you will be able to use the OpenAI APIs to interface and interact with those models. So what are the models which are available? If you go onto the models option here on the left and Docker Hub, these are all the models which we can pull, and you will see some stats. You will see what's the size of the model, how many stars it has, and some description of the model. So I counted there were about close to 40 different models available. So you can, based on how much hardware you have on your machine, you can pull these models and you can start to play around with that. Now, starting with C agent, if I want to build agents, let's see how do we get started. C agent is again part of the overall Docker. So if you install Docker Desktop, it comes built in with the latest version. If not, you can even download it from the GitHub repository and install it separately. So once you have C agent installed, it's basically a command line tool. So you have to interact with that using the C agent CLI. So the first thing we do with any CLI based tool is to run the -h or help command to understand what are the different commands supported. And you will see some of these commands are similar to the container as well as the Docker model runner. You have the pull, you have the push, you have the run command. So the experience of working with this C agent is quite similar to working with containers and the Docker model runner. So let's say, yeah.
So C agents is this first C stands for container. So it's container agents. That's why the idea is to be similar to how Docker works.
Yeah. So keep it close to the known tools that we have, and your cognitive load becomes less. So let's say I want to start with the first agent. I want to run an agent. So I can say C agent and then run. And I need to give it a file, like a specification of my agent. So in the hello world kind of scenario, when you start with your LLM, what's the hello world you use? When you see any videos or any references online, what's the hello world of LLM? Sorry? I?
That's what then. After.
Okay, hi, okay. Any other guess? So you will see a lot of videos or a lot of creators saying, why is the sky blue? That's the question, or the hello world of LLM. And then the LLM gives the response. So for me, I try to customize that a little bit. We are in Melbourne, and we all know that Melbourne weather is very unpredictable. So instead of asking, why is the sky blue? Let's try to ask, how is the Melbourne weather? So this is how I would start with the C agent. This is the hello world or a bare minimum C agent. You'll see that there is the agents tag or agents node. There is a root node. We'll talk about the root node later. There is the instruction, which is like a system prompt to say that you have to talk like a funny Aussie character, a native person. And we are using a model here, which is local model. And the specification of that model is, I'm going to use the Docker model runner, DMR, as the provider. And I have this Gemma 3 model already downloaded. I'm going to use that. If we are using the other supported models, which is like the OpenAI, Gemini from Google, as well as the Anthropic, sometimes we don't have to give the URL because those are by default supported. But in my testing, I found that I had to provide the base URL. That is when it started working. And if we are using the hosted model, we also need to provide like the API key. So if you want to try like the OpenAI GPT-4 model, and probably Thiago is going to use this approach using the Open Router, we will have to get that API key and we will have to configure it here. But in my case, since I'm using the local one, I don't have to provide the API key, but I still need the URL where that engine is running. Yeah. It's the models. So if you go back, so in the basic model, you will see it's a models collection. So it's not just one model. I can load multiple models and then I can use them based on which model is best suited for my use case. So in this case, when I was testing, I'm using the GitHub model, which is actually going through the Open Router. but I could use like a OpenAI model, or I could give a different model name, and I can load multiple models, but reference the individual one for my agent specifically. So in this agent's case, it's using the GitHub model.
Is root the starting agent for this?
Yes. And when we come to the multi-agent scenario, Thiago will talk about what's the significance of root and the sub-agents. So let's run this locally. So as I said, I don't want to waste money on tokens for the expensive models. I'm going to use the Docker model runner, and that is what I'm going to start with. So run, let's run 01 hello basic TMR. And this is where we are going to ask that question. How is the weather in Melbourne in the month of November? I was told it's the start of summer, but still not yet. So let's see what the model tells us. So who's lived here longest? Is that a true blue Aussie answer?
Very close.
Okay. So yeah, the Docker model runner, it's working in the background and it's giving us basically what we should be doing. It's basically a weather report and what we should expect in the month of November. So if someone asks you how much time does it take you to get started with building your own agent, probably you can say 5 minutes with Docker model runner and the container agents or C agents. Subject to you being able to download the model and you have enough hardware on your machine. Now, this one is
Geometry, right?
models, local model that I have. The small LLM is 256, but the one Gemma 3 I'm using is 2.3 gig.
Context window?
The tokens, you mean? Tokens, it shows you on the side when it runs, how many tokens it has consumed. So you can see 328 here. Yeah, that one. This one is, I have to find out the details. Yeah.
3 billion, I believe. Yeah. 4 billion, baby, probably.
Yeah.
4 billion parameters.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yes.
You need a decent hardware.
Yeah.
Minimum, I would say 16 gigs. I have a GPU running as well. You might be able to run on CPU, but the response would be slower.
Yeah, I'm
It
running
would take
only
some-
CPU and it is slow. Yeah.
But the idea here is, again, Docker, if you look at the concept, it's to enable you to get started quicker and remove some of these difficulties we have in the development environment, right? It's more developer-centric tool. And the idea is to run as much as possible locally on your laptop without connecting to the internet as well. So in that sense, I think it's a good way to start. Then when you want to scale it and you want to productionize it, you would probably want to go to a hosted model. Yeah. Okay, so that was a good start. We asked how is the weather, and the model replied to us in a true Aussie way. Now let's extend the capabilities of this model, and instead of this agent, and instead of just asking a question, if you've used any of the agentic tools, they have this concept of extending the capabilities by using what they call as the tool itself. So something like you need access to the file system, you need access to the shell. You can use MCP to enhance the capabilities of your agent, where the model is trained on something, but it requires more real-time data or more capabilities. So you can plug in the external tools as well. So we'll start with that and see some of the capabilities or the tools which are available. So let me switch over to the next agent that we are going to build. And let's use the first tool, which is called as the think tool. So this is like a reasoning thing. And Anthropic recently came up with this approach where instead of going through a big chunk of response, you ask the model to think for a while, take a step back, think, and then give a response. So here, the C agent, it allows us to specify the tool sets for our agents. And the first tool set that we are going to use is the think. So we are asking the agent not just to give the response that comes back, but also to think over it. So let's go and try this out. So I'm going to run the think tools here. And this is where let's try to question the capabilities of the model. Have you heard of Ashes? Those who said they know about cricket. Yeah. So you want to explain what is Ashes to the people who don't know? Yeah. So it's one of the biggest or the oldest rivalry in cricket. And I think it was Australia who lost or England who lost, and they burned the parts of the gear that is used in the game of cricket. They converted it into ashes, and every 2 years now, Australia and England, they play a series of 5 test matches, 5 days cricket, and whoever wins, they get this Ashes as the trophy. So that's the history behind Ashes. So I'm going to ask this question to the agent to predict who is going to win the 2025 Ashes between Australia and England. Anyone wants to take a bet?
Australia. Last year, England didn't do well.
So in this case, the system prompt I've given is you have to talk like a cricketer. So give it a bit more context instead of being just a pure Aussie. Think more in terms of the cricket logistics here and try to predict who will win the Ashes this year. And since we have enabled that tool set about think, it is going to reason why either Australia or England is going to win the Ashes, or at least it will try to reason. So if you can see the content, it's going through things like it says it's a lot of guesswork, and then it's trying to think, okay, Australia is good in bowling. They have a good pace attack. England, on the other hand, tries to build partnerships. They're not so good with the bowling, and it will try to reason over various facts before coming back with the answer. So let's give it maybe a few seconds. And while it's doing all this, you can see the number here, 915. That is the number of tokens which are currently used so far. So we can even set how many tokens we want to utilize, like the max token. So when we define the model, I think I have it for one of the other scenario. Yeah, here, max token. We can specify what is the maximum number of tokens that can be used. So that's the verdict. It says Australia are strong favorites to take the 2025 Ashes, and probability is 65 to 70%. So It could be like 3-2 or 3-1. I would say it could be 4-1. Okay. So that was about the thinking capabilities. So we can see that with just the addition of this attribute, the agent is able to think. So all we have to do here is to add the tool set and give it the thinking capability. The next thing I want to demonstrate is about the memory. So if you have used any of these agentic tools, you would have seen that you can go back and see what was the question that was asked. Perplexity, for example, you can ask 10 different questions and you can still go back and check the history and it remembers what was the response as well. So if you want similar capabilities, we can add that in our tool set saying type is memory, and I'm storing it locally in the memory right now, but if we plug this into MCP, this can also be stored remotely on a server. So let's test this out. How does the memory work? So first thing I will do is I will put something into the memory. Like I need something stored inside that cache to say this is what is available. Anyone wants to give me a topic? Yongkang is very busy. He is one of the pioneers. Anyone wants to say something about Yongkang, which we can put here?
I will just add
Okay. So let's say Yongkang is the superstar of Cube Astronaut program. So now we have enabled the memory. So the model will try to look at some facts about Yongkang and try to store some interesting thing about Yongkang in the memory. Yeah, this is in memory locally on my machine.
SQLite database. Behind the scenes using a SQLite.
Yeah. And this is where it's also asking for confirmation, like human in the loop concept, where before adding something to the memory, it's asking a confirmation whether I want to go ahead and add this in the memory or not. I would say yes, go ahead. So it has successfully added in the memory with GUID that Yongkang is the superstar of Cube Astronaut program. Now, to test the memory, let's close this session and then ask a question about Yongkang and see what happens. So I will come out of this, run the same agent and ask, who is Yongkang? That's Thiago. So when I was testing, I added Thiago as well. Yes. So it is picking it up, but it's not showing. Yeah, okay, he's got. Something went wrong. So the memory was, I think, blank at that time, but it does say that I mentioned that Yongkang is the superstar of Cube Astronaut. So this way, we can add things into the memory and we can retrieve them even across the sessions. The next capability, someone had a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to check, it's Getting done off the line.
Yes. In this case, because I'm referencing the Docker model runner, it's all offline.
So it's going
Yes. So the model has to be available before I can run this. Unlike Docker model runner, if the model is not available locally, it will pull the model. But for this C agent, it has to be pre-downloaded.
How can I get the list of tools?
It's part of the documentation. So you have
I will
the
share the QR code for the documentation.
So let's enhance the capabilities of this agent now. And instead of asking questions, let's also do some things like a developer, useful things. So in terms of the tool set, now we are adding a to-do list, access to the shell, so that the agent can run some shell commands, and it can also access the file system. So it can read and write files. And along with these tool sets, we also want to add some developer-like capabilities to the agent, which is to access the environment information. Like if you want to know what is the operating system currently this program or this agent is running on, if you want to do things around dates, like in a natural language, if you want to ask when was the last week, what things happened, those kind of things, then we are adding this capability for the date. So these two are called as extras, the environment information and the date, and we are enabling them for this particular agent. So let's go and trigger this one. And for this, I will ask a very simple developer task, which is, let's say, write me a TikTok game. So to avoid any typos, I'll just copy and paste this. So I'm asking write a TikTok game in an index.html file. While the agent is doing that, I've got some stickers and service bus. I'm no way related to service bus, just got it from the previous meetup. If anyone is interested, I'll leave them here.
But I want to be the one that I give the opposite documentation for some like significant. So is there a already possibility for that, like giving a URL and it will go and fetch all the documentation from the
You have to use MCP for that. So you can, just like we are giving the tool set, you can connect the MCP server. So Thiago, you have something on MCP? Yeah, I have MCP. Thiago, how MCP can be used. So here now it's trying to run a shell command and it's asking me to give the confirmation. I can say yes to all, but again, better to confirm every prompt. So it's creating index.html here, and it would write the content of tic-tac-toe game. So again, asking for confirmation. In this case, I think I've given the token limit as 16,000, 16K, because on the Docker model runner locally, that's the limit. But if you're using a hosted model, it can go up to 64K.
Is there a way to write a function and add that as a tool for you?
Yes. all possible. You want to review the HTML? It was 8,000 when I tested, and just that the demo doesn't fail, I changed it to 16,000. So I hope it doesn't consider that as like a leverage and continue for a long time. Okay, there is some error. I think it will try to fix it. Yeah, something has gone wrong, but you get the idea that I can use these tools in terms of to-do shell and file system to enable my agent to work with these things. So that was the 3 or 4 main features I had to show. I'll hand it over to Thiago to show even more interesting things with C agent.
How can we add retries in the agent?
There is a flag, how many retry attempts it can do. So in the configuration, you can add that. Thank you.
I need to start screen.
Yeah, stop sharing.
That was a very interesting game. Yeah, I never saw this. Yeah, I also learned a lot. How about you guys? Did you guys learn anything from Nilesh? Awesome, yeah.
Thank you, Nilesh, for this introduction of the C agents. I didn't prepare much slides, so I will just share my LinkedIn. This is me.
You asked me one slide. I thought you
Yeah.
had one.
This is my LinkedIn. If you want to add me. I am also a Docker captain, and recently I became a Microsoft MVP, and in the Kubernetes, the open source. And this year was the year that I decided to take more time in spending on agents. So this is, I believe, my third talk in agents. And C agents was, for me, is a game changer. I have tried many frameworks, and any framework that you need to be a developer, right? If you're not a developer, it's quite difficult to build any agent. And you start with like a language chain. You have other, like recently was the AWS strands framework as well. Even if it is easier, I mean, you still need to have the dev skills, right? You need to know what exactly you are doing in code. But now with the C agents, the game has changed because right now you can just create an agent, like just.
Can you zoom? Make
Yeah,
it bigger?
just a moment. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry for that.
Thanks.
So you can create an agent quite really easy. Just some lines on YAML file. If you are from Kubernetes, you like a YAML file, so you need to do some indentation in there. And like I have created some agents here just to give you an idea. I have this agent here. So you have like your initial set talking you. You can set the model. In this case, I'm using OpenRouter. And OpenRouter is a really nice tool because you can use many different models in one single API key. And That's the beautiful of this framework. It abstracts everything from you. You don't need to think about code. You don't need to think which tool call is doing and everything else. You just basically do the instructions in here. And in this case, I also created sub-agents. So that's why you have the root agent here. So that is the root agent for the who asked the question. And then you can set any other agents here. And the root agent will pass tasks to these agents. So yeah, in here you can see that there is only 41 lines of code because there is empty lines as well. And this is, you can set a team of researcher in this case. But let me share with you the resource so you can play with this later on. The workshop that we are doing today is this one, CH workshop. And this is the QR code. Let me make it a big screen bigger. Yeah, so this is the workshop. You can try later. This was the workshop that I did in last week in Istanbul in the Docker Captain Summit. So I was really happy to have opportunity, Yonkan, to have this event and we can share this. Like this is really fresh, you know. Not so many people already know, but this is privilege for you to have this content right now. So with this one is the workshop. You can build the agents and see the instructions. And it is based in an open source workshop. So you can go and add it to the code and help it change this. So this is the GitHub for this workshop, okay? If you want to join. And the C agent itself is from Docker. And this is that you can search Docker C agent. You will find this repository. And it again is open source. So it's always improving. This was published, I believe, 2 months ago as open source. So you can, sorry, just let me give you this. This is the QR code. Yeah, you can just do this QR code. It will go to that GitHub. If you, yeah, for who is looking. I just release it. But yeah, so these are tools that, so just to do a bit of history. 6 months ago, I decided to study agent and I started about frameworks. And there was about 30 frameworks, popular frameworks for agents. And now probably it has more than 100. And what happens with this is that, okay, maybe you build your agent using C agent. Maybe you build your agent in another framework. And the beauty of the C agents is that you can publish this similar to how you publish your image. So you probably have done, if you use a Docker before, you have to do some Docker run some image, right? You can do the same with the agents. So, sorry, you can do a C agent to run and give it the repo, the same Docker hub that you're using, you use to host your agent. Does that make sense? So you have your image published there. You can also publish this agent in there. I have done maybe 1 or 2 here. Let me see if I can get this. Sorry, just a moment. Just before that, another thing that I'm using is called OpenRouter. So this is the, if you want to see what it is, the OpenRouter, is this URL here. OpenRouter give you access to free models that you can use for free, but there is some limits. But the beauty of the OpenRouter is actually that you can route to many different models, OpenAI, Cloud, Mistral, etc. And it is not, I mean, it is pay as you go, right? So in this case here, I'm using a free model. And they are using the OpenAI API, so they are compatible of the OpenAI. So in the provider here, even if it's saying that it is OpenAI, actually the base URL that I'm using is the OpenRouter. And the model that I'm using is this from Z.AI. And this model, GLM, was one of the good models for tool calling. Another thing that you want to do when you are using building an agent, you are looking for models that are good in tool calling, because that is what the agent needs to do. And tool call is just handling JSON, okay? Not much than that, just handling JSON. So let's see this here. Sorry. It's just a research, okay? It do research using DuckDuckGo, and the writer can create files. So it will delegate this. So the research can use this DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is a research engine, and I'm using is a MCP. So I use a UVX, is a wrapper for Python, and this will run this MCP. So it will search about this and do a clean summary, and then once the summary is done, the root will send this to the instructions, and it will can create a file. So it can confirm create a file. So this is really simple, right? I don't want to go to Google and search, and then I can just run this agent. And I believe I have published this agent. If I go to GitHub, the Thiago Forgo is my handle there. And I have some images here. And I should have the agent. So you see here, you have the pilot agents. I have the open route agent here, the finance and the research. I believe I didn't publish the research. Okay, no worries. So what you can do is like, once this is here, you can just download this, right? Similar to how you do Docker run, but instead of doing Docker pull for this one, you can do C agent, run, and then this here. So just like this, it will start the agent. So you can build your agent and share with everyone. So you build a nice agent that do stuff that is nice and you like, you can share and anyone can use this. Just need to have the Docker desktop and C agents installed. So in this case here, this is an agent that is running a local model. I believe it will be a bit slow, but I want you to test. So let's see if it works. Who is young? Okay, why is this restaurant? Yeah. So this is the same agent that have built here, and this one is the local team. So the only thing that I'm using this model here, this is Graphite 4 from IBM. Yes.
So this is equivalent to writing a Docker file for some application that you push as image on Docker.
Yeah, so it's this YAML file that I'm showing here. This is exactly the file that is sent to Docker.
Okay.
So usually when you build an image, is that just, okay, you need to build this, and that, right?
Right.
And this is the same thing. It just give the instructions, and Docker, when you use C agent, it will understand and download that YAML file.
Okay, so if I have to build my own agent, I will just put C agent build and the file name.
No, you just need to do C agent push the file name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't need to build because the agent itself, you don't need to build in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a descriptive file. Okay. Yeah, so this is, I did one thing that it's okay. It create the task and so forth, but to make things more fun, you can do YOLO. So YOLO mode, you know, you only live once. So who is, because, okay, another thing from agents, is important to have human in the loop, but most of the time you want the agent to do stuff for you and you not be there, right? You want to be there just if okay, now I need to take a decision and the agent should not take this decision by me. So that's the moment that you want to have the human in the loop. So most of the time, you want the agent to go and do the stuff that you want. Okay, didn't do the mode here, but it's fine. So it will create and do stuffs, and this YOLO mode is a nice way to leave the agent playing by itself. This one is the local one. Maybe it will be a bit slow. I want to run this with the open router one because it will be a bit quicker. Let me just copy this. In this case, I forgot to set my API key, so let me just set the API key. And hopefully it will be this one. Oops.
It's recorded now.
No worries, no worries. I will change this API key as soon as this finish. Okay, so this again is the same idea. It's do a research, okay? So in this case, I want to create something and also save the file. So because the writer can save the file for me. So let's do like what it is Docker Captain. Sorry, Captain. Save the report as Docker captain.txt. But because this agent also has the system file, it can write to the system file. And in this case, it will use the open router, and you see that it actually is much quicker, and it called the MCP server, and the MCP server is being called here without I needed to approve, right? So because I set the YOLO mode. And here is really nice, this DocDuckGo, it do a web search, it fetch the information, and from the content that it is fetched, it will summarize and create here for you a report and save as a text. As Nilesh showed, you can do this for create code, you can do this for analyzing stuff. So I believe agents will be a thing that you will build to help you in the daily tasks. If you have database and you can share, this will be much more powerful than just locally. But yeah, this is one of the tools. And you see that it will write much quicker than my computer that don't have GPUs. Because it don't have GPUs, the task here is still running. Okay, it's doing stuff. Oh, Yokan we found here who it is. Yeah, major Kubernetes meetup across various countries, right? So even if you run with a local model that it is not in GPU, you still can make use of this. And again, I believe the nice thing here for the C agents is that it's a tool that it is abstracting a lot of things from you. So you don't need to worry about, oh, how do I set this or create this file? And then you have 3, 4, 5 files that needed to orchestrate around. You just need one single file, a YAML file to create the tools. So for this workshop here, I believe I have these sub agents and you can publish, right? So the sharing agents here is, you can just do the C agent push, and then you have just to have, login, right? You do a Docker login to log in your account, and that is it. You set your account in the name of the agent. And once you're done, you can do this, right? So this is what you can do. This is really nice because you can just get the agent, and then you can add it as well. You can pull and add the agent. Another thing that I believe is important, it's again, the C agent here, the nature of this agent here is that it is a bit interactive, right? So you have still a chat bot, like you type something, it do something, right? But the thing is that agents these days is in what we are building as agents is that agents will be more autonomous. You have more agency from the agents. So you can run the Docker, the C agents as a service as well. So you can just do a server as an API, and then if you create, have you heard about A2A? It's a protocol for agents. So you can build it and wrap this agent in the A2A, and then you just can serve this and keep it running indefinitely. And it will be, instead of you type something, you can make this as a webhook that send an API request and say, okay, do this agent will do that, and so forth. So you can create, there is no limits, right? You can create an arm of agents to do a lot of stuff. And since it's running in Docker, you can put this in almost any server today. Let's see if it's finished. Oh, okay, I got a bad request here. That's fine. Let's see if this one will complete it.
1.78 days.
Yeah, it's get maybe the limit, right? For local.
I think that's how popular Yongkang is.
Yeah. Yeah, the on-page. So I have done some tests here. So I asked you to create a research on C agents itself. So a meta research, right? And this is what it created. It created a really well comprehensive documentation based on that. This model don't know what is C agent because it was not published, right? But because it has access to search, it can do search, fetch documentation, and create this. So this was really cool to do. Not sure if you are using more MCPs and agents today, but MCP just complete 1 year anniversary, basically, and it is getting more and more popular, especially the remote servers right now. Like I believe some big tech companies are serving MCP region instead of not just the API that you can use for interact with that services. They are also giving you MCP. So that is because agents is, I mean, this year was the year of the agents. Next year will be robots, right?
Multi-agents. Multi-agent.
Multi-agents, yeah. Next year will be multi-agents, and I believe the robots are coming as well. So that's a fun thing to do. Okay, any questions on here?
Can you go back to that multi-agent or sub-agent file in the workshop? Just to answer
This one?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were asking how to give instruction, multi-line instructions, right? You can see he is given a multi-line instructions here.
I use this pipe.
Yeah.
This pipe is quite popular in YAML files. You open the pipe and then you can do multi-line instead.
In the workshop, there is a sub-agent thing, right? If you open that one.
Yes, to make
But
it
here
easier.
you can see. Yeah, is given like for a project manager, what are the instructions? That instruction is a huge list, and same way for the sub-agents. Like you have the designer, you have the engineer, you have UX engineer, each of those agents, they have got multi-line instructions. So you can build a huge list like this and give it to the agent.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Another thing is that if you are a developer, not sure if you are a developer or not, but people are asking you to build more agents, right? And if you want to test if the agent is working, you need to do this eval of the agents. And Docker with this C8 is a really nice way to do that because you can interact really quickly and do tests and then make changes. Because one thing is the model that you are running, if the model is capable, etc. But if you don't do the correct system prompt that it is these instructions here, this will change a lot of how the model will interact, right? Like we have the cricket way of talking. I have done with the pilots as well. So the way that you instruct the LLM to interact with your task, it will be also important. And I believe this is key point here is these instructions. Okay, and also using a capable model. I also believe a lot that if you have a well-defined use case for tasks, you can use these small models that it is fine-tuned or distilled for your specific use case. And then you don't need to use a huge model like in GPT-4, GPT-5, just because it's capable, because it is a specific use case. Okay, let's see if that finish. Okay, so it looks like it finished, and let's see if it has any file here. What was the name that I asked?
Docker Captain.
Yeah, Docker Captain. No. Yeah, it didn't save here. Maybe it say that saved, but
Docker Captain or DX.
.txt, yeah. The thing that I don't like here is that I cannot select the copy. The Docker, yeah, did not save it in this file. Let me see if save it in.
As BLLM word to put it.
Yeah. Docker. No. Credential, Docker, no. Didn't save here. Sorry, yeah, I should be here. Okay, no worries. Didn't work it this time, but usually works. Is the demo, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes not. But you can see that to build agents and to build multi-agents today is quite easy. I will not go here and show exactly the API part, but you can also create this in service API, and then you can create another agent card and share this. Okay. I will have in next year more about the agent to agent and the two other frameworks, not frameworks, but protocols that are being used for multi-agent in the CNCF, under the CNCF as well. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this one. And yeah.
Is there like some sort of unit test or maybe somebody to automatically test these agents? I'm pretty new to agents, I'm not sure.
I don't know any unit test for agents right now. I know that has some evals that you can,
Yeah,
but
Evals is the
yeah,
case because the large language models are very unpredictable, right?
yeah,
So it becomes difficult to test it. Unit test, you usually test what is like
Right,
very deterministic,
Exactly.
non-deterministic.
So
So you basically use a matrix and evals, like you were saying, to see, okay, what's the rate in terms of positive, negative, those kind of things.
Any tools that you use for EOS?
I haven't used so far.
yeah, I haven't used so far, but I believe there is already frameworks for Evolve because this metric is quite well defined now, like how many tokens are doing, how many tools it calls to get to the answer. And this is thing that I mean, MCP is just 1 year, right? The agents is like less than that, the way that we are using, and Evolve is out again, quite new framework. So should be a nice talk. If you want to research and give a talk here, you're invited.
Potentially.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay.
Any other question? No.
Okay.
Hi, Thiago.
Hey.
So, I want to know whether you can push it out to any other registry other than Docker Hub.
Right now, I believe it's on Docker Hub because it's a bit different. I didn't test with the other repo and thing.
Yeah.
Right now,
I'm
it's-
talking about like private repository and.
Yeah, but because
It should be okay as long as it's OCI compliant registry.
Okay, if your size
Thank
exposure, good, thank you. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, it is just a YAML file, but it is good to know that you can put in like PCR.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good question. Yeah, good.
Who else? Anyone else? Question? Ready to do the test? Already? You got another question?
Nobody else. I want to know if you're using a fine-tuned SLM versus an LLM, then will I be running with lower compute? Let's say I can put it on an EC2 or something.
Yes, it will depend actually how you fine tune that. Like fine tune will not make the model smaller. It will get the model better for their test. So usually,
RAG augmented
yes,
SLM.
yeah, like not, I'll say, sorry, not exactly augmented, but it is a way of you train that for doing that specific test. And then the model will be almost the same size from the one that you started on, the base model and the fine-tune model will be almost the same size. It's just that it will be much more efficient for your test in the fine-tune. If you can also quantize. The quantization is a way of getting the model smaller. So usually you start from like probably 16 bits and then you go to 4 bits. And that will is the quantization that you can do with the model, and then to get smaller, and then it will be better to run like the lower end machines.
Right, so between like C agent, I'm quite new to this, and those low code or no code type of workflows like NAN or Make or Zapier, which would you suggest?
It will depend actually the integration, right? I believe it is Zapier anything. And it's really good because it's already building a lot of integrations, and you can just plug and play, right? You get from the community a lot of nodes that you can just add your keys and put in there. I believe that's good. I believe that the nice part of the CA that is, at least in this moment, is that you can create different agents that you can share without needing to have like NUTN for you, right? I'm not totally sure how this compared to NUTN, but I believe it is more related to small agents, right? They can keep you running. Because NUTN, you cannot put the NUTN agents, because it's not exactly agent, just a workflow, as a agent in that sense that you can share the agent running. This is one point. I would not go try to do a workflow in Zapier or anything in C8. I would not go to that point because they need to create all the integrations. Like sometimes you get in from Zapier, you get your Notion something, then you get your Gmail. You can go here as well. But if you just want to do some workflows that is more similar to templates that's already existing in your training, I would go to the path that it is in here.
So can I ask for a specific use case?
Yes, yes.
Like if I'm training, I'm trying to synthesize some data. So I want to use an embedding model with an LLM. Do you think that I could use C agent to run it?
Yes, you can use C agent.
It's a very simple pipeline, which is why I
Yes.
thinking C agent might be useful.
Yes, C agent will be useful. Like you don't want to embed it, right? And put in a database. That's it, base.
Yeah, a simple pipeline.
Yeah,
So
I
this would
believe
be the
you can
use case for it.
That will be the use case, a simple one. You can divide in, divide in chunks, put it,
Yeah.
run this in this embedded model,
Yes,
and then get back the result and put in a database. This will be a really use case.
thank you.
And you can run locally without going anywhere, right? That's
Yeah,
nice.
and then I can transport, I can put the same in an EC2, for instance.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Just
thank you, everyone. No more question. It's getting late. Yeah, I really want to test you guys before you have to go. Okay. So yeah, let's give them a round of applause. And then now the last part, we're going to do the quiz time. Okay. We also have the awesome swags to give away. Okay. So okay, we're going to start and then start quiz. And then there should be a QR code you can scan. Yes. Okay.
We got 19 people already. Okay, that's good. I think, are we missing anyone?
Let's go.
What about online? Any people, anyone from online? So let's start the first question. Okay. Before I go this, yeah, if you want to really win some additional swags, additional prize, that's the QR code. Okay, but this QR code is slightly different than the one do quiz time. So basically, I just ask you a question. Have you followed us? Have you joined our community? That's it. Are you willing to help us to spread the news? And then we will draw. This draw will be I will be doing later, yeah, to save time. Okay. So back to the quiz. The first question. Can you guys see it? Let me make it slightly bigger. I'm not going to read the question. Yeah. It's a very easy one.
Check all the questions and the answers. When the Gemini generated it.
Which of the following character lists two of these planes? Okay, not too bad. Two-thirds answer correctly. Next one. Let's see who are the leader so far. Caroline, good job. So the second question. So how to get to the top? You need to answer correctly and fast enough, okay? If you answer wrong, it doesn't work, okay? If you answer slowly, correctly, but you are not going to be on the top. That's the correct answer, organization. Next one. Which of the following is explicitly listed as a component of OpenChoreo data plane, providing core security and network capabilities? Security network. So which one is correct? CLM agent. Yeah, think about the security network, right? Next one. So we are almost halfway. Now Akasha is on the top. According to OpenChoreo development concepts, which of the following is not listed as a supported component type? I don't know the answer. Okay, time out. Integration app is not a component. So we just halfway. Next few questions, I already told you. Easy, right?
Not yet.
Okay, this one should be very easy. Yeah. Cool. You guys all know I'm not a dog captain. Next one also easier. What was the original name of Docker before it became container platform we know today? I told you the question, right? Is that dot cloud, cloud dock, shipyard, or container X? Okay, let's see how many people can get the correct. Ah, come on. We got a 35, not too bad. It's dot cloud, okay? Next one also easy. I already told you the question. When was KSUG.AI started? Initially, we call KSUG. Easier. It's on the slide. Only a few seconds. Let's see who gets the correct. Oh, come on, only 42%, 40%. Not too bad. We started 3 years ago, okay? 2022. Yeah, we started in Singapore, yeah, before we came here. Last question. Which of the following best describe a Docker C agent? Yeah, this one should be easier. Yeah, we spent quite a lot of time talking about the C agent. Ronaji, you keep on the top. Yeah, amazing. Congratulations. Let's see. The last question, let's see, is that going to change a bit? Nothing changed. Congratulations, man. Also, congratulations to, okay, let me end the quiz. And now we're going to see the dashboard. No, not dashboard, leaderboard. Yeah. We don't have much more price promo here, but if you scan the QR code, hopefully you can win some other, nice prize. Now, let me show you the price, what we have right now. So we got one platform engineering for architect, the book. We also have a code cloud access. You just got code cloud access, so you're not going to choose again. Okay, so you want to take the book? Yeah. Can anyone help me take a photo? Okay. Do LinkedIn post, okay? Yes. Help us spread the word. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. Congratulations. So the second one, what the second winner? Okay, wrong screen. Akasha. Congratulations. Do you want to take the code cloud access?
Yes.
6 months, that's a pretty good deal. Yep. Yeah, come over, take a photo. Yeah. Three, two, one. Awesome. Congratulations. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And again, yeah, if you haven't scanned the QR code, let me bring it back. So if you scan the QR code, definitely you can win something. Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah. I don't have a lot of the swags to give away, but I try to help as many people as I can. Now the last part, we always take a group photo. Yeah. If you don't mind, come over here. Let's do a group photo, please. All right, come over here. Yeah, I take a photo and then do another selfie. So that will capture everyone. If they want to be on it, this is okay. Are we ready? Smile, big smile. Now I'm going to take a selfie. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Next one.